So you're excited for Half-Life Alyx, but you have that problem. How are you going to get VR? How are you going to upgrade your computer to play VR properly? Everybody's going wild for the Valve Index, and as it appears, the Valve Index is the best-selling thing on Steam for everyone. But herein lies the problem. If you buy the Valve Index, you need to buy a computer that can back that kind of VR experience up. I'm talking at least 120 Hz at the resolution that it pushes, and not everybody can afford that. It's not just the $1,000 investment, it's much more than that. And there are far cheaper ways of getting into the VR space for both the headset and the computer. Because it's the holiday season, because Black Friday and Cyber Monday are almost here, this is what you need to know. You have two choices for playing Half-Life Alyx cheaply yet effectively. There are some cheap virtual reality options out there that if you get, you will put them down because they will make you sick. You have two good options, the Samsung Odyssey Plus and the HTC Vive. The Samsung Odyssey Plus runs on Windows Mixed Reality, itself an OEM design from Microsoft. We've already talked about this before. However, every time we've ever spoken about the Odyssey Plus, I've told you to buy used. Right now on Amazon, you can buy new for $229, and this headset has a retail price of $500. This headset has a higher resolution than the HTC Vive, a higher field of view than the HTC Vive. But what it's lacking is first-generation Windows Mixed Reality tracking as opposed to the HTC Vive's Valve-made Lighthouse, which we'll talk about in a second. This uses Inside Out, which is not the best in terms of your head tracking or your controller tracking. However, if all you have is a couple $100 and you want to play Half-Life Alyx as soon as possible, the Samsung Odyssey Plus is the way to go. Link to buy that is down in the description below. The sale of $229 is not going to last forever. What's likely going on here is Samsung is taking advantage of the hype surrounding Half-Life Alyx to clear out their inventory of these headsets. No one has been making a lot of money with Windows Mixed Reality because no one had been very interested. Now is the time to grab it. If you don't want to get that, the HTC Vive is sold used officially through HTC for $400, $399. Not only do you get the Vive, which is a great VR headset, you also get the Vive Wands, which are kind of the worst input device, and two Lighthouse Trackers. These are Lighthouse 1.0, Valve's outside-in tracking device that uses lasers in these boxes to detect emitters on the headset to position the player in 3D space. This allows for room-scale VR that allows you to walk around your play space as if you are in the game itself. These Lighthouse 1.0 trackers are also forward compatible with all Valve-made VR equipment. So, if you want to be able to upgrade your controllers at a later date, all you'd have to do is buy the knuckles and you're good to go. They will work with your Vive and your existing Lighthouses. This weekend, however, HTC is having a Black Friday sale, and they are going to be selling their certified pre-owned HTC Vives for $349. If you want the best possible tracked experience in VR as cheap as possible, this is the single best way of getting in. $349.99 for a certified pre-owned HTC Vive, complete with Lighthouse Trackers, is great because it opens yourself up to an upgrade path that allows you to use the knuckles and maybe even the index at a later time. This is exactly what I did. I bought my Vive in 2016, and I did not have to buy Lighthouse Trackers when it came time to purchase the index. I just got the headset and the knuckles at a later date. So for now, if all you want is to play Half-Life Alyx and that's it, this is a great way to introduce yourself into virtual reality. And if you have ordered your VR headsets, stay tuned for a video called The Beginner's Guide to Virtual Reality, which will not only explain the best way to play VR with third-party apps, third-party expansions, and third-party extensions for Steam VR, but it will also walk you through the games that you should be playing to get yourself from playing things like Beat Saber to playing things like Boneworks as comfortably as possible. So that's how you get your headset. But what about a computer? We now know the minimum required specifications for Half-Life Alyx, and they are demanding. Half-Life Alyx is stated to require at least, at the minimum, an i5-7500 or a Ryzen 5 1600, 12 gigs of RAM at a minimum, and at least a GTX 1060 or RX 580 with at least 6 gigabytes of VRAM. To play Half-Life Half-Life Alyx, at a minimum, you do need a fairly beefy computer. So I'm gonna turn it over to my friend Bogus Tech Tips, the person that helped me build my computer, to help you build a computer to hit these specifications as cheaply as possible.
This time around, I made two categories of part lists: budget and recommended. After having reviewed Half-Life Alyx's minimum hardware requirements, I've determined that the second part list, seen in VR on a budget, the video that was posted by Tyler that I helped on, should fit the bill quite nicely. However, I have made some modifications in the form of a case change to the P350X from Vantex, as well as a separate part list that features the EVGA GeForce GTX 1066GB. Clearly, video memory must be important for Half-Life Alyx, as it's been recommended to have a GPU with at least 6GB of it. However, keep in mind that this is just for the minimum requirements. As such, I've created a category of part lists that I've dubbed recommended. I have made two part lists for this category, and for the most part, they're identical. CPU-wise, AMD Ryzen 5 3600, motherboard is a MSI B450 Tomahawk Max, memory is going to be 16GB of G.Skill Trident Z Neo at 3600 MHz. Storage-wise, an HP EX920 1TB NVMe drive. Sapphire's Radeon RX 5700 XT with 8GB of VRAM. Vantex's Eclipse P400A with its tempered glass side panel, and then what they've dubbed a fine mesh front panel, as well as 3 RGB fans. And then a fully modular Corsair RMX 650 watt, 80 plus gold certified PSU. For those who aren't really willing to make the jump to Navi yet, the second part list is practically identical to the first, except that it uses an RTX 2070 Super, which costs $100 more. Just keep that in mind. Oh, and this goes without saying, these are just references, alright? Please do not try to make your holiday shopping list out of these part lists. This is just an idea of what you can buy for these price points. You may be able to find a better deal on, maybe an Intel CPU or a last generation Ryzen CPU. You know what I mean. If you can find a better deal, go for it.
Thank you very much, Bogus Tech Tips, for throwing that together. I know this has been kind of a hectic week, and I appreciate you working with me to get that out into the public. If you are excited about Half-Life Alyx, or at least partially as excited as I am, then you definitely want to get a hold of VR hardware. But I need to stress, there is more to VR than just Half-Life Alyx. Boneworks is out in only a few weeks, and there is an entire back catalog of amazing VR experiences that came out over the last 3.5 years of the VR ecosystem's lifespan. And I'm going to be telling you all of the great ones as soon as possible. I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. I hope you have a good day. Adios.